Yeah, I mean, I had 3 Canonists and 2. You're talking about Legacy? Yeah. 2 Graph Diggers caged in the board, and they never came in. But maybe I would cut a Canonist for like a Life from the Loam, just to have
Thalia or something.
Thalia. Well, the thing is, you really can't play Thalia in the Punishing Fire version, I think, because it's just 2 mana. It shuts off your own engine.
Yeah, and like Punishing Fire engine, that seemed to be the way that you won every single game I watched you play. So.
Yeah, it's weird. Like in the Swiss, I was rarely Punishing Firing anything, and then in the top 8, it like won me almost all the games.
Yeah.
So, I would maybe put in like a Life from the Loam, just to have a Wasteland recursion engine. Another way to beat control decks.
It's also a nice way to get back your groves, like if they like deal with them with their own
or if they kill your groves. In Canonist, it's like he'll give you a better chance for a Storm or High Tide, but you're probably still going to lose to those decks. So
yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's like maybe cutting one is not the worst.
Does that make sense? So the tournament, you were X and 5, so you were 11 and 5.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of 11 and 5s. Yeah. You were the only one to sneak in the top 8. And there's the new play draw rule too. So you had to be on the trot in every single one of your matches.
Yeah. And it wasn't that bad. I mean, like, against control decks, you don't really need to be fast. And like, you can, for example, game 1 versus Nick, he was stuck on 2 lands. Maybe the extra card helped me more than it helped him. I had 2 Wastelands.
Yep.
And I was practicing last night versus Ben Friedman's deck, and I was pretty scared because he was the only one who turned down the split because he thought he was just going to crush me since I didn't have Thalia. And then I went back and played it in the hotel room, and I won 8 straight games on the draw, game 1. And then I was like, maybe it's not that bad that I'm on the draw and that I have to play this out. I mean,
ended up working out well.
Maybe the guys I was playing with weren't as good as Ben Friedman, but just to know that I could win that much, it made me feel better about the matchup.
So, when's the last time you played on the Pro Tour?
Hawaii.
Hawaii?
Yeah.
Oh, you played?
Yeah, I played.
Awesome.
I've played in many Pro Tours, done poorly at almost all of them.
You top 16 in Japan. I was mentioning that while
top
you were
32.
Top 32. Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, you've regularly been winning PTQs. I'm sure you've played against Nick before.
Yeah, a few times. He's from New York. Yeah.
So. Yeah, but it's are you qualified for Avacyn Restored?
Yes.
Congratulations. How'd you qualify?
Thanks. Level 3 of Pro Players Club last year, so it doesn't exist anymore, but it carries on, and I get to choose one. So
nice.
Yeah, it's the last one I'm technically queued for, but I'm 1 point off from gold, so maybe I'll make it.
Maybe you'll get there.
Yeah.
It's a shame there are no points for this.
It's a shame. Yeah.
But I mean, the novelty check and the trophy are pretty nice.
I've never had a novelty check before. That's
pretty sweet,
what I'm
right?
about,
yeah, man. You need to get like a glass table so you can put it inside of the table.
Not a bad idea.
It's a pretty good way to handle it. Or you can maybe have it like imposed onto a towel so you can dry yourself with it. That's probably the way you can have like the most personal experience with your novelty check.
Yeah, I definitely want to enjoy it to the fullest.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for joining me, Max, and congratulations, man.
All right,
pretty sick. I'm very happy you're sitting here with me,
cool.
Champion.
All right, well, see you later.
Be well. Max Tietze, everybody, the champion of the Star City Games Invitational. He was piloting Maverick in this field where everybody was playing these Esper Snapcaster lists, these Rug Delver decks. We had Bug Delver, Bug Control,
Maverick.
and here's somebody who's playing Naya colors. He's playing green-white for creatures, and he's splashing red to play a 2-mana shock that he can bring back from his graveyard, and takes down the entire tournament. Just squeaked into top 8. Yep. Best breakers of all. Brad Nelson in 9th place, left standing on the sidelines. Max Tietze in there, piloting Maverick, takes down the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Great underdog story. We just talked to Max. He just played in Hawaii. He was qualified for that Pro Tour. He's qualified for Avacyn Restored. So, this is somebody who just manages to qualify for every single Pro Tour. And at the Pro Tour level, it just, hasn't had the success that I feel he's capable of, because he's an incredible player. And maybe you can follow him at Pro Tour Avacyn Restored, put him on your fantasy team. Clearly he's running hot, and that's definitely one of the things you want to be looking for when you're
It is.
do well, because if somebody's winning, it's a lot easier to win when you're winning.
Right, and it's one of those things where you're at that level, like, You just need that breakthrough, right? He's somebody who I feel if he can get that breakthrough, he can get actually on the train. He can get gold level. And
he said he's 1 point off of gold right now.
Well, oh, great.
Yeah.
If he 1 point off gold, if he can get gold level, I think he's someone who can stay at gold level.
Yes.
But he has to get up to that level. I mean, it's big that, especially right now, the Pro Tours are giving out such a huge percentage of those total points that if you want to get gold and platinum, you really need to get on the Pro Tour. You have to get on there. You have to have a good performance. You have to get to the next one, have another good performance. Get just enough to squeak by to get after 2 Pro Tours to get onto the 20s, and then from that point on, the average points you need just gets easier and easier because you're going to all 4 Pro Tours.
Yeah. So I mean, once you're on the train, it can be difficult to stay on, but it's not incredibly difficult to stay on.
If you're willing to go to events.
If you're willing to travel, then it can be pretty easy.
Like, I remember back in the day, it was 20 points to stay on the train. Mm-hmm. Showing up to all the Pro Tours when there were 5 was 10 points. So the 10 right there, and that's if you owe for every Pro Tour, you have 10 points. You only have to come up with 10 more points. It's like winning a Grand Prix or maybe like 4 top 16 finishes or so. So if you wanted to go to a lot of events, you could stay on, fairly easily. But getting on, when you start off with 2 points from going to 1 Pro Tour, and getting on was really, really hard. Just staying on, much easier. So he's someone, you might be talking about him next year, going, oh, Max Tietze in the race for platinum next year. It could be.
And I mean, this is something that I've been saying all week, and I really wanted some new blood in American Magic, and just in Magic in general. It seems like the Pro Tour itself is becoming kind of this stale thing. Like there are people win PPQs and get to go to 1 and maybe chain 2 together, but it's really rare that you get new people on the train nowadays. And
especially chaining them now, because it used to be chaining this top 50.
Yeah.
Now it's top 25, and the ratings points were not good for.
You have the top 4 a GP.
Right. And ratings was really good for keeping people if you had a really good performance at a Pro Tour, you might not be top 50, but you would probably have your rating high enough to go to the next one if you wanted to sit on it. Rating doesn't matter now, so you have to if you can't get on and stay on, it's just you have to really just spike a tournament here, spike a tournament there, spike a tournament here.
Yeah.
Just
I was actually very upset to find out that I was thinking about coming to the Grand Prix here a few weeks ago and ended up not doing it because I found out I would have had 0 buys. I was like, oh no, so my rating is over 2K, and somebody's like, no, dude, that doesn't work like that anymore. I was
nope.
Like, oh yeah, oh.
Planes are points.
Have you played it all? And I'm like, I played F&M twice. They're like, no.
No.
You're dead.
Not gonna be there. Not quite enough. Not quite enough.
All right, well, we're going to cut to a break real quick. We'll be back with more Legacy action covering the Legacy Open. Congratulations to Max Tietze, our invitational winner here.
Yeah.
And congratulations to Nick Spagnuolo, our finalist. Excellent tournament. Great showing.
Wonderful.
Just awesome. Glad we're here. See you in a little bit.
Control, a little bit different list.
Patrick Chapin says Esper Blade is the best deck in Legacy. Oh, he referred to it as Tom Martell.deck. But
it's kind of more Sam Black.deck, but not going to split hairs in this one. Nick leads off with a tropical. No other play.
We've got the old school versus the new school.
It is.
Right? Joshua Rabbit's an old school player. We were just saying before we went live, the average person may not realize how good of a player Joshua Rabbit's is.
Right. It's not a name they recognize, but he ran in the golden era of Magic.
Both of these guys kind of from the same area.
Yeah, they
New
are.
York, New Jersey kind of area.
Yeah. And then just looking at the matchup on paper, Nick looks pretty good on paper.
Yeah, there's 2 kind of schools of thought here. Go ahead, explain what you were saying.
Nick looks great on paper, but it's a very complicated matchup, and so play skill is going to really come into this one. Figuring out which lines to go with, incredibly important. And if Nick chooses there's certain lines that if Nick takes, Josh gets huge advantages on.
So Josh is casting Inquisition of Kozilek, and Nick responds with a Brainstorm to hide anything that he figures is a likely target for that Inquisition.
It looks like he has at least a few forces in his hand.
Yeah,
three forces.
Wow. 3 forces, Dark Blast, Innocent Blood, and Polluted Delta.
And really, none of these cards are particularly good in this matchup. None of these
Inquisition targets?
Yeah, Inquisition targets are particularly good. So
he's going to take the Innocent Blood.
I imagine he will. Yes, and he does. And so Nick successfully hid himself from getting too much damage done by that. Looks like he drew a spell snare.
Yeah.
So that will counter something good of Rabbits. This could counter a Stoneforge.
So Rabbits now has a brainstorm of his own. Sees Snapcaster force Swords to Plowshares. So
Ooh, he has both his Batterskull and his Jit in his hand.
That's a little awkward.
Looks like he's going to put one back. I imagine he's going to crack this fetch.
Yeah.
Get rid of it, and that way next turn when he actually, if he tries to cast a Stoneforge next turn,
and resolves it.
It will get +1 card.
Yeah. It's funny how that works. Very awkward to be drawing your tutor targets, but Brainstorm and fetch lands
Brainstorm helps
solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, I mean, you probably remember when playing Caw-Blade. Sometimes you would just, if you were kind of out of tutor targets, you just put them back on top of your library with Jace, and then you'd re-Stoneforge them up.
Yeah.
Just get another card out of it.
So yeah, Nick very prepared for this deck. I think he has his sideboard is very live. He's got that the Dread of Night, 2 copies of that, which we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's in after sideboard. That is real big. It just deals with so many of Rabbit's threats.
So a Ponder from Josh. See Stoneforge. I believe it's was that Lingering Souls?
That was a Lingering
else?
Souls, and I believe a Marsh Flats maybe.
Okay. So Nick on paper, at first glance, seems to have a pretty good plan against this deck and sideboard as well. But we were just talking to Mike Flores, and Mike, actually very good friends with Josh, came down here with Josh, and obviously rooting for Josh. Probably helped Josh prepare for this matchup quite a bit.
Right.
He says Nick really only has so many win conditions. If they match Jaces, right? Their Jaces cancel each other out. Nick only has six. I think he said 3 win conditions besides Jace, and Josh has access to 6 Swords to Plowshares.
Right.
And Nick can't play Knight of Souls Betrayal because that kills his own Snapcasters and makes his Mistress Factories 1/1s. So
and his Tar Pit only a 2/1.
Yeah, and his Tar Pit just a 2/1. So basically, I think the plan is, if I understood Mike correctly, is that Josh is just going to try to keep Jace off the table and basically use all his Swords to Plowshares to deck Nick. Like that just happened that he has no win conditions.
It is quite a plan.
And that's a very old school way to think too. I mean, decking, kind of a natural decking. Okay, so we've got a Stoneforge Mystic from Josh getting a Spell Snare from Nick. A natural decking like that is something that you don't see very often anymore, but it was something that happened a lot with the old Draw-Go control decks. I'm decking you. I'm not casting some crazy mill spell on you. I'm just making it so you don't win until you're out of cards.
Yep, Lingering Souls from Josh. With that resolves, and he plays a Flooded Strand. So 2 1/1s on Josh's side of the board. Nick's side, still pretty bare.
Tropical Island and a fresh Underground Sea.
Right. Nick obviously having a few mana issues. He's stumbling a bit. He needs to draw more lands. Certainly, anytime you have a control matchup like this, drawing lands is pretty important. You need to be able to match your opponent land for land as long as possible.
So end of turn, he Dark Blasts one of those spirits.
Dark Blast is largely dead in his deck. He doesn't have a whole lot to do with it, so...
Yeah, I mean, I like this plan. I mean, Lingering Souls is such a kind of card advantage machine there.
Yeah, it is.
Dark Blast kind of helps compensate for that because, Nick can just mill himself. Now, knowing Josh is on the decking kind of plan, maybe Dark Blast, dredging Dark Blast back.
No, but I think the whole point of using it there is that he doesn't have a lot of targets for it.
Right. So
there's no reason to save it for a long time. He's really just going to sit around and try to keep Josh from just getting out 4 spirits and getting him so low that he deals with them that any single threat can take him out pretty easily. Inquisition from Nick.
Yeah,
we're
gonna get it on the table. There we go. Right.
Snapcaster, 2 swords,
Vendilion Click, and Force of Will.
Right.
Yeah. In the meantime, as we were chatting, Josh flashed back the Lingering Souls.
Nick, he does have these force wheels in his hand. He can stop the swords. He can stop the Vendilion click. But what do you want to? What do you want to do with the least? I'm thinking it's either going to be Snapcaster or Vendilion click.
Yeah, I think I take I take Snapcaster because I feel like as good as Vendilion click is, yes, Nick is going with.
Yeah.
Good as Vendilion click is, Snapcaster represents a lot of good spells on its own.
He's already fairly far behind, and he just the Dark Blast he can always dredge and try to get rid of Vendilion click. The Snapcaster Mage is going to re-get a Brainstorm or something like that. Ooh, another Lingering Souls from Josh. In for 3. Nick went to 18, now he goes to 15. I imagine Josh will cast another Lingering Souls here. Needs to just put in enough pressure on that Nick is going to have to deed, he's going to have to do something, and he's light on land, he doesn't have a whole lot else. Maybe he has to counterspell this. Is it? It's not a card you want to. It's not a card you want to counterspell.
No, not at all. But at the same time, it does represent 2 guys.
Right. Nick obviously wants to keep Josh off of a Jace. That Jace is going to be huge in this matchup. When you're so far behind, you do have to worry that at any point that Josh draws a Jace, it's going to take so much for Nick to keep from hitting play.
So it resolves.
5 tokens. And Josh really just gets to sit now if he wants to. He can just,
just sit back.
Settle with hitting for 5 every turn
until you deal with it. I mean, he's got a 3-turn clock here, 2 more turns.
Make Nick tap out if Nick gets a deed.
Yeah, Nick does have access to 3 Pernicious Deed main deck.
Right. If he gets a deed, that will take care of all the spirits for 3 to cast, 0 to below it. But
as will Maelstrom Pulse.
As will Maelstrom Pulse. But Josh. First of all, Josh, if he wanted to, if he pulses, can simply Swords one of his spirits. And then Nick has to force a will if he wants to keep those guys from dying.
That's true. There we have a Jace.
Yeah.
That is the altered art Jace. It's a League of Legends character, from what we understand. I don't play that game, so I don't know.
Yep. And I imagine he's, this is an unfortunate use for Jace. He pretty much just has to use it as Brainstorm. Bouncing a token's not going to do much. Now, Nick, it looks like has another Jace hit his hand.
He does.
So it's not the end of the world. He's going to prevent a lot of damage. Josh, if he really wants to, I believe he could force it, but he chooses not to. He already knows Nick's hand is just full of forces. No reason to fight over this if he doesn't have to.
Yeah, so Nick goes with the Brainstorm. Sees another Wasteland and Liliana, I believe, and something else. And can't quite see it. The something else was the card. I think he's putting 2 down on the bottom there.
So we might never see it.
Yeah.
Now I think, well, yeah, if I'm Josh, I'd definitely Vendilion click here.
Yeah.
You need to make Nick waste those Force of Wills. Get as many 2-for-1s as you can right now.
And that's what he does. Force of Will, removing Force of Will.
Keep the pressure on Nick. Come in with a few spirits are going to hit Nick. A few spirits are going to hit.
So he could, I was going to say, he's got a couple options here. So he's going to go ahead and kill Jace that way, and he's probably going to try to land a Jace of his own because he just top decked one.
He definitely is going to play his own Jace here. That means Nick is going to have to Force of Will it.
Or basically play his own Jace again. I don't know how many Force of. He's got 1 Force of Will left.
The problem, of course, with playing it himself is
he just loses it.
Right, he just loses. The Force of Will in his hand is now dead because he's going to take 5 damage from the spirits. Take him to 1, so he has really no other choice but to, I think, force it and then
force Jace here. Yeah.
Actually, that maybe he has to let it resolve and just let Josh have the Jace for a while because he does force it. He goes to 5, so he has to have a way to. He needs to have a way to deal with these spirits because he is now dead on board.
Yeah,
barring something like Pernicious Deed right here to blow him up.
He's got a Liliana in hand alongside a Jace. He's got 2 Planeswalkers in hand.
Right.
I believe he just removed Counterspell to pay for that force.
All right.
And
And let's see. So now he's got a big decision here. Is he drawing yet? Oh, he's thinking about, I think, dredging Dark Blast or not. The big downside of dredging Dark Blast, well, one of the many downsides he does, is that, okay, so he knows that none of those cards are going to do him anything.
Yeah,
he can only kill one spirit. He is still going to go down to 1.
He can't play Jace.
And I think you have to do it on your turn.
Looks like he did it on Josh's turn.
Josh's turn, okay. Does Josh have any standard counter spells? He has one. He only has one actual counter spell. But you don't want him to, randomly just counter it.
Yeah.
And then you're just totally dead.
So now Joshua attacking with the force remaining spirits after losing 1 to Dark Blast, but Nick on a precarious 1 life here. It looks like.
It's good. Next card's got to be a pulse or a deed. That is the only thing that's going to save him.
Stoneforge Mystic from Josh.
Stoneforge getting their equipment. If he even if he draws a deed, he's not going to have the mana to both deed and kill the Stoneforge.
Yeah, this is. I believe at this point it's on to game 2. But
yeah, I think there's no question that Nick is stumbling on that early mana, just put him too far behind. He had all these Force of Wills, which work great if you're trying to get a Jace into play. Does not work so great if you're in a situation where you are behind, and he was behind. Had a 2 for 1 himself a few times, and that let Josh Rabbits take the first game.
Yeah, Josh gave him still had all these Jaces and Force of Wills.
Little rubbins. Nothing wrong with little rubbins now and then.
So yeah, it's interesting looking at like we were saying, Nick's deck is set up for this kind of matchup, but like you said, he stumbled on early mana, and we didn't see any of those cards. He's got, going down just his main deck. There was no Pernicious Deed, of which he has 3. There was no Maelstrom Pulse, that's 1, but there's 4 cards. No Knight of... He's got 5 cards there that would have been great right there if he could resolve one.
The card he doesn't have, and I'd like to thank Nathan Holt, Walk the Plains. They did he pointed out that if Nick had been playing Stormcrow, he could have blocked spirits all day long. But, Wizards has been talking very heavily about banning Stormcrow.
Stormcrow is
just being too good. And Covermere, we're pretty sure that's on the next ban list.
Yeah, probably.
It's just so much better than Stormcrow. And Stormcrow is already pretty far up there in terms of cards on the watch list. So, Nick might have made a mistake by not including it. I don't know. I just don't know. Now, the sideboarding, Nick has
He has 2 Dread of Night. We already talked about that.
Dread of Night, again, a card you might not remember unless you were playing 12 years ago.
In fact, I completely forgot what it does. Why don't you tell us, Sam?
It's a 1 mana black enchantment from Tempest. It says all white creatures get -1/-1. All of them. Josh Rabbits has a few white creatures.
In fact, he just won the game with 5 of them on board, not even counting the Stoneforge Mystic.
Not even counting the Stoneforge Mystic, yeah. 1 Dread of Night right there. Kills them all.
Except for the Stoneforge Mystic.
Except for the Stoneforge. But it kills all those, 1 mana.
Neutralizes that Stoneforge Mystic to some degree.
Yeah, a 1 mana black enchantment deals with 4 Lingering Souls and everyone that's flashbacked in Josh Rabbit's deck. That card is certainly going to come up.
He's also got Scavenging Ooze, which is a nice beatdown kind of guy. It's I feel like it has its uses. If a Lingering Souls finds its way into the graveyard and it does not happen to be a Dread of Night, it's also pretty good against Snapcaster Mage. It's just a one of.
Yeah.
I like that. He's also got 2 Vendilion Clicks to add in here.
Yeah,
I think
if he wants to, and he might need a few more win conditions in this matchup. It's going to be very hard fought.
It's got some Nile Spellbombs in there too, but I don't know that they're necessarily for this match.
No, I don't think they are, and especially with bringing the Dread Knight, he probably doesn't need him as much.
Right.
Now, if Mike Flores' advice was correct, saying that if Nick Spagnuolo resolved a Knight of Soul's Betrayal, he's in big trouble. That was Flores' take on the situation, that Knight's going to remove so many of Nick's win conditions and make his old deck take so long that Josh has the time for his deck to take over.
Right.
If that's the case, then maybe Nick takes it out.
Yeah.
I think we saw it earlier in the Swiss. He was playing against one of these decks and he did not take it out. So
yeah, I'd imagine. I think he keeps it. I think, all right, just obviously, like we were saying earlier, with Josh naturally drawing his equipment. If he has the Knight of Souls Betrayal and he's in a situation where he was like the one he was just in, I think you just have to play it. Like
you do.
You're gonna lose otherwise.
Right.
So if he's in a situation where it seems that he's got to consider that losing his win conditions, I think he's got ways to brainstorm it away if he turned it into a live card instead of a dead card.
Yeah, certainly. That's certainly true.
I think I'd rather have it just in case. I mean, it's basically a kind of a day of judgment kind of thing here, although it's permanent.
It is permanent. It is quite good. Yeah, so he doesn't have... the other card he can bring in if he wants to is Raven's Crime. Raven's Crime means that with a life from the loam, he gets to just strip Ravis's hand every turn.
We actually saw that happen in one of his camera matches earlier in the weekend, where I don't know if it was me and JVL.
It was you and JVL. I was into that. I was looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, he definitely had Life from the Loam going, not with Raven's Crime, but with Wasteland.
Ooh.
So it's a Life from the Loam, just a 2-of, but that's a nice strategy to go on. Nice way to lock your opponent out.
Yeah.
And Raven's Crime, very similar, denying different resources, but making Life from the Loam, Raven's Crime, stripping their hand instead of their mana base.
Right. So going into game 2, both players in their hand, deciding whether or not they want to keep them. Nick seems on a similarly light mana hand from last time, though maybe he has a few better options than simply a handful of Force Wills. Josh
doing
that peek mulligan.
Yep.
Now it's not a big problem if you go peek mulligan. It's a big problem if you go peek keep.
Yeah, that's quite a different animal.
Quite a different animal. People do that sometimes.
That's pretty bad.
People do that sometimes. They don't realize that when you're playing with your friends and you got a pizza and you got some Mountain Dew and you're sitting around and you're like, playing Commander. You're like, yeah, whatever, peek keep. I'll be okay. That's fine. When in a tournament, you go peek keep. It does not turn out as well. Really doesn't turn out well at all, actually, when it comes down to it. Don't do that.
Peek keep, lose. I think it's
peek keep. Yeah, especially if it's peek keep without lie to judge.
Yeah,
that's even worse. Don't do that.
For sure. Well, I don't think you should lie to anybody, but lying to a judge in a tournament will have immediate repercussions.
Not a good idea. Turns out they're pretty good at figuring that stuff out. And it is punishable by a DQ and possibly a ban. So, tournament officials, tell them the truth.
For those of you who may be just tuning in, I'm Joey Pasco here with Sam Stoddard, and we are covering the Invitational quarterfinals here at the StarCityGames.com Invitational in Baltimore.
We are.
Nick Spagnuolo versus Josh Rabbits. Josh up a game right now. Nick, little mana light, and could not find an answer to any of Josh's lingering threats.
Nope, his souls are not going away. And this hand for Josh does not look tremendous either.
No, it doesn't. Is that a one-lander?
I believe it is a one-lander. Yep, he's getting... he's Inquisition. He forces it. Partially because he doesn't want
one-lander.
No, they kept the one-lander. He's hoping to draw the second land so he can say, I got the two-lander.
Yeah, so that Inquisition does not resolve. Inquisition becomes him to Torok there.
It did. It got 2 Force Wills.
And Josh cracks that Flooded Strand for a basic island. Is that a Guru Island?
Guru Island, yes.
Very nice.
Josh believes in playing very nice cards. It's kind of the Cadillac of islands to get down to it.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah. Island being the Cadillac of basic lands, I think.
Right, so it's the Cadillac of Cadillacs.
Yeah.
It's actually a Cadillac with another Cadillac inside of it.
And we've got a brainstorm. So main phase brainstorm.
Looking for another land.
And he sees one.
There's
he sees
two.
He sees a surgical extraction, I think.
Yeah, he does. Surgical going to be quite good here. It's going to keep any life from loam shenanigans from getting too out of control.
It's gonna.
But it's going to go on top because we are not. He is not in a position where that is going to do a whole lot.
So I think he put extraction, and he. I didn't see what the other card was that he put on top.
Nor did I.
All right.
But now we're going to find out.
Yeah.
It was Inquisition.
Okay. Nick just played a Tropical Island past Underground Sea from Josh and an Inquisition. Inquisition meets Spell Pierce.
You got two more? No, you don't. Thanks.
And Nick untaps.
My turn.
Appears to be about to play Tropical Island. There it is.
Yep.
Pass
Not
back.
a lot of heat from Nick.
No.
Not that this deck has a lot of heat, but if it did.
All right. So untap.
Upkeep.
Upkeep.
Draw. Before main
Vendilion
phase.
Click. Yeah.
Vendilion Click. And I don't believe Josh has an actual way to deal with that right now. He's got a disenchant. I believe it's a surgical. It's not a counterspell.
Looking at these deck lists, though, you gotta, speaking of Michael J, you gotta ask who's the beatdown, and I think Josh is the beatdown deck list wise.
I think that with as few win conditions as he has a whole lot more than Nick.
Yeah.
And so
each copy of Lingering Souls representing 4 win conditions on its own.
Nick sees Disenchant, Polluted Delta, Swords of Plowshares, and a
you said Polluted Delta.
Yeah. And Josh, he lets him keep him. Josh cracks it, cracks that Polluted Delta, gets Tundra.
Shuffles away that surgical extraction.
No, I think that surgical's still in his hand. Is actually in his hand.
Oh, okay. I thought he shuffled it away, but that may be what he drew. That is what he drew. Yeah.
Yep. Swords of Plowshares gets rid of that Vendilion Click. Once again, Nick Spignolo pretty light on the win conditions. So Josh, using every opportunity he can to try and get one out of his deck. He's gonna try and sort of attrition him out.
Yeah.
Josh knows he has more win conditions, so we can just take away all of Nick's.
Yep.
And he should be in a good spot.
Match him Jace for Jace, and
right.
Yeah, keep Jace off the table, keep Nick's creatures off the table, and that'll effectively deck Nick.
That's very true.
Odd saying Josh is the beatdown, and one of his major plans could be to deck Nick. All right, so brainstorm from Josh. We know his hand, I believe, has Disenchant and not quite sure. I forgot what the other card was, but we see Swords, land, and he's going to put the Disenchant back along with, looks like Surgical Extraction. That was the other card.
Right.
Looks like he's going
Snapcaster or Disenchant, maybe.
Yeah, he's changed his mind 3 times or 2 times already, but looks like Disenchant Snapcaster is going back. Yeah, so.
Do not want these.
Josh's hand now, I believe, well, it is now Snapcaster, Disenchant, Surgical Extraction,
not Disenchant.
Swords to
I think Disenchant's on top.
Oh, I'm sorry. Snapcaster, Swords to Plowshares, Surgical Extraction, and land.
And there's a Wasteland. This is a card that Josh might be holding this extraction for. There are a few cards that he does want to get out of Nick's deck, and one of them is Wasteland. He does not want to get Wasteland locked with a life from loam.
Yeah, I like that plan. I like that.
Because he wants to have enough mana, basically, to be able to play a Stoneforge and have a Batterskull and protect it.
Still fetching up a basic land here.
Yep.
Keeping open maybe a different line of play if he decides the Wasteland is not what he wants to get rid of. Has Nick seen that Surgical Extraction?
I don't think he has. I mean, he knows.
Oh, wait, it was his draw. It was Josh's draw for that turn, right? So he has seen it.
He's seen it with the Vendilion Click.
So Nick can play around it and just use that Wasteland as a mana source at this point.
Right.
All right, so Nick with just land go, Snapcaster from Josh.
We imagine he's going to get a Brainstorm.
Oh, it gets a spell snare here. Spell
Meets
snare.
Doom.
Snapcaster goes away. Josh thinking here.
It's a question of which lands he has in play. How do he has any lands? I don't know.
Well, he played that polluted delta last turn. Oh, maybe
He's
Nick
gonna
stopped
wasteland
him
it.
before he's saying, you know, I think maybe end of turn he wanted to wasteland it.
All right. Draws on the swords. Josh settling in for the late game. Pass the turn back. He appears to have no plans to win this game quickly. He thinks he's in a good spot with his hand. He's in a good spot to sort of attrition all of Nick's win conditions out.
Nick with Inquisition of Kozilek. Josh responds with Snapcaster Mage. Apparently has resolved.
Rise of Brainstorm.
Snapcaster
That'll get
attempts.
spell pierced.
Brainstorm gets the Spell Pierce. So, Inquisition still on the stack here. Oh, Spell Pierce, I believe, has resolved, right?
Spell pierce resolves.
Yeah, it definitely resolves.
He's looking at if he wants to surgical extract something. It appears.
Appears that that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. He's probably getting rid of something.
And
The
go
Wastelands could be
Swamp.
something
Yep.
else? He might.
So-
Maybe he has enough basis now that he's not too concerned about the Wasteland. It's no longer as backbreaking. So what card does he want to get rid of? Now he wants to get rid of Jace's. That's what he'd like to get rid of. It's not really an option just yet.
Alright, so he's going to cast the Surgical Extraction. Targeting Wasteland, so
Yep.
that is indeed what he's going for. And we see Nick's hand of Dark Blast, Snapcaster Mage, Liliana of the Veil, and Knight of Souls Betrayal.
Yep. The card that Mike Flores warned
Would be Nick's downfall,
would be
I think.
next downfall to cast it. So interesting thing about surgical extraction. I don't know if you've ever cast it on Magic Online.
I don't think I have. I don't remember.
But you have to choose the cards in the graveyard. You target it and create a card in the graveyard, and then you have to choose it also.
Oh wow! So like almost you can fail to find
You
the
can
one
fail
in the
to find the
graveyard.
one in the graveyard, and people have talked about doing that. And I guess there was a tournament I heard about recently where somebody did that, and they cast surgical extraction. They targeted their opponent's wasteland or card in the graveyard, searched their hand and library, removed the other three, left the card in the graveyard, and there was a question of does that card go away? Was the intent to remove it, or by the rules of the game, you have to actually say I'm removing that card from the game.
Wow.
But not the case here. Josh removes the wasteland. As you can see, it is turned kind of askew, sitting there, RFG'd.
Yeah, it's very odd because by the very nature of targeting it, you've clearly found it.
Right.
It's just odd that there's this odd
But
technical
it's not a
kind of
even a
thing.
matter of failure to find. It's like choose a card and remove any number of copies.
Yeah. So Snapcaster into the red zone. Yep.
Gonna sack. I imagine he's gonna find yep. Finds a underground, and presumably he's gonna Dark Blast that Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah. Both players doing a really good job of keeping the area clean.
Yeah. No, pesky permanents mucking up this board.
Back in Cincinnati, JVL and I were doing, I think it was a mono green mirror in standard, and we were like, wow, these aggro decks, they're too complicated.
They are very complicated.
Let's go with the control decks that can clear the board. Much simpler.
No combat math needed. Just
Yeah.
in for two.
Exactly.
A Jace for Nick off the top. And
Fate Seal.
oh, and he's right into Fate Seals now.
Yeah, he is using Jace, I think, as the win
As the
condition.
win
I think
condition, yeah.
Mind Sculpting is what's his
And I
next
like
plan
that.
here.
I like that. He's just going to
Fate Seal you.
He's
All
going to go
right.
straight for it.
And of course, Josh can fetch here to change the top card of his library.
Knights of Soul Betrayal is going to shut off most of the cards in Josh's deck. Most of the creatures. Makes it very hard for him to kill Jace the Mind Sculptor.
So I have not seen a Lingering Souls in when Josh has been fetching. I wonder. I mean, not that I've been looking every time. Is it possible that he boarded those out in anticipation of Nick's plan?
That's possible.
Hello, and welcome back to the Star City Games Open at Baltimore.
Yeah, the Invitational is done with.
Invitational is done with. No more Invitational rounds. Great tournament. Good turnout. The matches were just, oh my God, they were so good. You saw a lot of great matches on camera, and if you're just tuning in, I'm Sam Stoddard. This is Joey Pasco.
How's it
Those
going,
are not
guys?
Sam Stoddard and Joey Pasco.
No, that wasn't them.
Those
That was
are
not.
the
That's
people-
them.
That's them.
There.
That's us.
That's us.
If you didn't see them, you can watch the archives later. We covered all 16 rounds plus 3 top 8 rounds, so 19 rounds of Invitational watch, and pretty much every one was a great match.
Yeah, Max Tietze wins the Invitational. Max was the 8th seed going into the top 8.
On tiebreakers.
Got scooped in by Jeff Foster.